Pretty much all suffering comes with a reason. And there's very few things that you can't justify, like very few situations where suffering is not justified with some form of reason that is positive. Of course, there's freak accidents and incidents that don't really have much justification, or at least I don't have a place to justify it. But really, almost anywhere you can find justification, even in the ugly stuff. So the obvious ones are like the pain of going to the gym or going on runs results in a better physique, better health, which is a positive outcome. So the suffering had a positive outcome. But there's other situations such as freak accidents. So a friend or family member dies in a car crash, which knock on wood, okay, that never happens to you or hasn't ever happened to you. But what good can come out of that? Well, maybe it brings the family together. Maybe it drives them apart very well, but maybe in driving them apart, it allows you to then go on and find new people to rely on. And you can always find something positive. And I'm not saying this because it's positive or because really there is anything positive about it. But if you train your brain to always try to find the positive in a negative situation that involves some form of suffering, because suffering is negative, like that's how humans kind of like perceive it, is like we are trying to avoid suffering. That is like the human condition. And so anything negative is just anything that causes any form of suffering. And so if you're trying basically at all times to find positive in a experience that causes you suffering or anything at all, your brain will be trained to do so. And by that, your mood will be changed, your life will be changed, because people who are miserable are typically people who find 1,001 different reasons to justify why they're suffering and why they are right there. And you also find with the most successful people in the world are also the ones who have suffered the most typically, but they also understand that suffering comes with some form of positive result. So, like working 70, 80 hours a week kind of sucks, but it has a positive result because you have money, you can put food on the table. Basically, super short video, straight to the punchline. It's like pretty much all suffering has a positive effect. And if you can come up with something that is some form of suffering that does not have a positive effect, then you probably didn't think for long enough, or you're not open to the possibility of it. And it's not necessarily because it's true. Like, for example, I'm not going to say that it is a good thing that a family member died in a car accident. That's not what I'm getting at here. What I mean is the suffering that causes almost always has a good result. And if you can't come up with one, you haven't thought about it long enough. Like, okay, maybe it brought the family back together, or maybe it drove it apart, or maybe by driving it apart, it allowed you to find somebody that you could rely on, and you now have a new best friend. Or maybe you're all alone. Okay, but then maybe you learn how to be alone. It's like you can constantly keep asking why and digging deeper, and there will always be some sort of positive lesson. At the core of it, you're left to decide for yourself, because you can always find some negativity in a situation, but you can also always find positivity in a situation. And so when faced with suffering, you can choose the negative side or the positive side. But in the end, if you really look at it, some form of suffering always results in something that is tangible and beneficial, but only if you look at it that way. So, like, to one person, being alone could be a gift, and to another, it could be a curse. But they're both in the exact same situation. The only thing that's different between the two is the mindset. And your mindset is what determines how you feel when you wake up every morning and what you do with your life. And so, by changing your mindset, you will literally change your life and change who you are. And so, that's the punchline for the day. But hopefully, you guys can apply this. Hopefully, it resonates. Hopefully, you understand it. And hopefully, you don't get mad at me for saying that suffering might be a good thing.